Hello all. So today we are going to move to the final part of concluding session of modern English drama. In this session, we are going to discuss about some isms which are instrumental in determining the nature and as well as theme styles as well as techniques used in modern theatre. So, modern theatre is influenced by various isms, which are artistic movements or ideologies that shape the themes, styles, and techniques used in the plays. These isms often reflect broader cultural, political, and social trends. Here are some of the key isms in modern theatre. First one is realism. About realism as well as naturalism, we have discussed about realism and naturalism in detail in the first session of modern English drama. Still, for the time being, let's look into some basic aspects of realism. So, realism focuses on portraying everyday life and ordinary people as realistically as possible. And the characteristic features of realistic theatre are detailed settings, naturalistic dialogue, and plots that are centered on some social issues. Notable playwrights are Henrik Ibsen, Anton Chekhov, Arthur Miller. A very notable example is A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen, which deals with the issues of marriage, gender roles, and societal expectations. Second important movement is naturalism. Naturalism focuses on an extreme realistic form that seeks to depict life with scientific accuracy and objectivity. In naturalistic plays, characters are shaped by their environment and heredity, and plays often highlight the darker aspects of life. Notable playwrights are Emily Zola, August Strindberg, and example is Miss Julie by August Strindberg, which explores class struggle and psychological manipulation. Third important movement is Expressionism. Expressionism represents the inner emotions as well as subjective experiences of the characters, often in a distorted or exaggerated manner. So it represents inner emotions and subjective experiences in a distorted way. And the main characteristic feature of expressionism is that the there will be abstract sets, heightened dialogues, as well as symbolic characters. Notable playwrights who had written plays in expressionist mode are George Kaiser, Elmer Rice, and all. And notable example for expressionist work is The Hairy Ape by Eugene O'Neill, which uses the expressionist techniques to explore alienation and industrialization. The Hairy Ape is a 2022 expressionist play by Eugene O'Neill, and it follows the story of Yank, a very brutish laborer who works as a stoker on transatlantic ocean. Towards the end, you can see after encountering with existential crisis or identity crisis, Liang leaves the ship and wanders through New York City, and then he visits the zoo where he feels kinship with a caged gorilla. And towards the end, you can see Yang frees the gorilla only to be killed by itself, symbolizing his sense of alienation and lack of belonging in both human as well as animal worlds. Themes of class struggle, industrialization, or dehumanization, identity, belonging, all can be explored in this The Hairy Ape, a beautiful expressionist play by Eugene O'Neill. So, um, expressionism is an artistic movement that emerged in early 20th century, primarily in Germany, and we can see it presents the world from a highly subjective perspective, often distorting reality in order to evoke emotional responses. It is intended to convey deeper layers of meaning through distortion as well as exaggeration. In visual arts or painting, it often employs bold or jarring colors as well as dynamic compositions can be seen. Edvard Munch's The Screen, which epitomizes the angst and emotional intensity of expressionism. Next important modernist movement is absurdism. We have discussed about absurdism when we discussed the features of modern as well as postmodern age. Absurdism highlights the absurdity of human existence in this universe. Human existence lacks meaning or purpose. Absurdist says so. Important characteristic features of absurdist plays are illogical plots, nonsensical dialogues, and characters will be trapped in repetitive or meaningless actions. We know classic example for absurdist theater is nothing other than Samuel Beckett's The Waiting for Godot. Eugene Ionesco and Harold Pinter are in the row, but typical example is Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett, where characters wait endlessly for someone who never arrives. It reflects the futility of human existence at its core. So, absurdism can be considered as a philosophical perspective, which thinks that universe is irrational and meaningless, and even if we try to attempt some kind of meaning, ultimately we will feel that leads to within. So, the absurd um, points into the conflicts between humans' desires to find inherent meaning in life and the silent indifferent universe. Human condition is absolutely absurd, and absurdism highlights the struggles of human beings to find purpose or create purpose in a purposeless world. And common responses to the thought absurdism, the philosophy of absurdism includes suicide, religious belief, rebellion. How absurdism approaches these concepts. Let's see. It, regarding suicide, it rejects life due to its lack of meaning. Regarding religious belief, it human beings always embraces faith to find higher purpose, but the struggle it will result in a struggle only because it is hard to find any purpose in a purposeless world. Believes the absurdist. Then rebellion accepts the absurd and continuing to search for meaning despite its futility. Despite its futility, we absurdist thinks that in order to find a meaning or purpose in this purposeless world, human beings are in a constant struggle, or human beings engages in a constant rebellion within himself. And notable figures are Albert Camus. Albert Camus is often associated with absurdism, and we know his famous works, The Myth of Sisyphus as well as The Stranger, where Camus advocates for rebellion as the most authentic response to absurdism. So, notable playwrights are we have discussed about Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. Then Eugene Ionesco is there. Harold Pinter is also there. Next important ism is surrealism. So, when you come to surrealism, we can see surrealism explores the unconscious mind, dreams, and irrationality in literature as well as in visual arts. Characteristic features of surrealist movement is the bizarre imagery, non-linear narratives, as well as a dream-like atmosphere. Notable playwrights absurdism are Antoine Artaud, Jean Cocteau, and so on. Notable example of surrealist work is The Breast of Tiresias by Guylaine Apollinaire. It's a play that blends fantasy and reality to challenge conventional gender roles. So you can see Tiresias here. Tiresias is an offer. You can see the appearance of Tiresias even in T.S. Eliot's Wasteland and most of the modernist literature. So let's examine who was Tiresias. Tiresias is an interesting figure or fascinating figure from Greek mythology. He is a prophet and he has unique experiences. He is a blind prophet in Greek mythology. He is a blind seer from Thebes. He is renowned for his wisdom. He experienced unique transformation, that is living as both a man as well as a woman. According to myths, he transformed into a woman for 7 years after striking two mating snakes. And he has significant role in myths. Tiresias appears in various myths, including the myths of Oedipus as well as the journey of Odysseus. And he is blind also. Different myths explains about his blindness, and one version suggests he was blinded by Athena for seeing her bathing, while other claims Hera blinded him for revealing divine secrets. So we can see his appearances in Oedipus Rex, Sophocles' tragedy, as well as the Odyssey, Homer's epic, the Odyssey. So Tiresias is there. Now, next important ism is existentialism. Existentialism explores the themes of free will, choice, and the search for meaning in a world that may be indifferent or meaningless. See, in absurdism as a philosophy claims that the world doesn't have any inherent meaning. On the other hand, existentialism says that you can create your own meaning, you can attribute your own meaning for this life or this world. Characteristics of absurdist or existentialist theater are: characters often faces moral dilemmas or confusions and questions about their own existence. Notable playwrights belongs to this genre are Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus. Example: No Exit by Jean-Paul Sartre, where characters are trapped in a room together for eternity, exploring the existential theme that hell is other people. So we have studied about absurdism, surrealism, as well as existentialism. So connecting to this, let me discuss about The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, which is a surreal novella that explores themes of alienation, identity, and absurdity of human existence. The story begins with Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis, begins with Gregor Samsa, a traveling salesman, waking up one morning to find himself in implicitly transformed into a giant insect. So so this novella shows, though this is not a part of theater, yet we can discuss about this novella because it discusses about the themes of alienation, identity, and absurdity of human existence, where Grigor Samsa, a traveling salesman, wake up one morning to find himself metamorphosized into a giant insect. So um, these Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis helps you for the better understanding of these philosophies in literature, how literature explores these philosophies. Next is epic theater. See, epic theater encourages the audience to think critically about socio-political issues rather than becoming emotionally involved in the story. So last class we have told about Brahad's theater, Bharatian theater, which is anti-Aristotelian in nature, right? So its characteristics are use of narrator or direct addresses as well as other techniques to alienate the audience. So notable playwright is Bertolt Brecht. Last class we have discussed about his theater, and example is the Threepenny Opera by Bertolt Brecht, which uses song satires and a non-linear structure to critique capitalism. Next is postmodernism. So, postmodernism questions the concepts of narrative, reality, and meaning, often through irony, pastiche, and self referentiality. Characteristic features are blending of genres or fragmented narratives and an emphasis on the role of the audience in creating meaning. So notable playwrights are Karel Churchill is there, Tom Stoppard is there. Notable example of postmodern plays Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are there by Tom Stoppard, which reimagines Shakespeare's Hamlet from the perspective of two minor characters, that is Rosencrantz as well as Guildenstern. They are two minor characters, and the play explores the blend of existentialism as well as absurdism. So Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead is a tragicomedy by Tom Stoppard, and it exploits the two. It expands upon the exploits of two minor characters from Shakespeare's Hamlet, and the play opens with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's flipping coins. And now you can see that the strange occurrence sets the tone for play's exploration of chance and fate. You can see soon they encounter a troupe of actors, the tragedians, led by the player who offers them a performance. So you can also see their interactions with Hamlet, where they struggle to understand Hamlet's behavior and their own purposes, often engages in philosophical discussions as well as wordplay. Now, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern discover they are carrying a letter that orders the King of England to execute Hamlet. However, Hamlet switches the letter, leading to their own deaths. And what is interesting is that towards the end, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern know that they will be executed by the English king, but they resign themselves to their fate. This highlights the existential themes of accepting absurdity of life. So the play explores the absurdity of life as well as the randomness of existence. It questions whether characters have any control over their own destinies because they never take any actions or any steps to save themselves from execution. We have discussed about Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, along with Hamlet. While we discussed about Hamlet, right now, next is the theater of cruelty. So it focuses on provoking a visceral response um, from the audience by confronting them with intense and often disturbing images or actions. The characteristic features of the theater of cruelty are non traditional use of space, sensory overload, and physicality. So, theater of absurd is actually an experimental theater developed by French playwright and actor Antoine Atraud. So, it aims to shock the audience and awaken their subconscious mind through intense and often disturbing sensory experiences. The theater of cruelty uses light, sounds, and other physical movements to overwhelm this audience's senses, creating a visceral experience. Here also, breaking the fourth wall is used. We have discussed about the concept of breaking the fourth wall. That means breaking the wall, imaginary barrier between the perceiver as well as the performer, right? So Atrout believed in removing this barrier between actors and the audience, making the audience an active participant in the performance, and it emphasized on the physical expression of emotions rather than solely on dialogue. For better understanding of these theaters, I recommend you to watch our previous classes. So its goal is primarily the liberation of subconscious, as well as the performances are created or to provoke strong emotional reactions, often through shocking or unsettling or disturbing contents. And finally, we can discuss about feminism. Feminism challenges, we know, patriarchal structures. It explores gender dynamics. Feminism gives voice to women's experiences, right? So, in theater, we can see reinterpretation of classical texts are there, because mostly classical texts put forward some kind of patriarchal conventional kind of narratives. So reinterpretation of classical texts can be seen, creation of new narratives centered on women can be seen, and you can also see in feminist theater feminist theory exploration of intersectionality. So notable playwrights are Carol Churchill, Sarah Kane, and all. Top Girls by Karel Churchill critiques a capitalist feminism and explores the sacrifices women make for success. More importantly, this feminism addresses and prevents. Addresses in preventing domestic violence, sexual harassment, and other forms of gender biased violences. So, feminism as a theory is a socio-political as well as a cultural movement that advocates for the equality of sexes. So it seeks to dismantle the systematic inequalities and injustice faced by women and other marginalized genders. So equality, intersectionality, empowerment, these are all the famous key concepts embedded in feminism. Thus, we have seen various isms explode in modern theater, modern English drama. Feminism is there, then theater of cruelty is there, then postmodernism is there, Postmodernism is an integral part. Then epic theater. Now existentialism is there. Then surrealism. Now absurdism, expressionism, naturalism, realism. So these are all important isms explored in modern theater. Hope these classes are useful for you. So thanks for watching. Thank you.